We are live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. My name is Alan Roberts. A lot of people call me that angry bald man, that motherfucker, that asshole, that fucking total piece of shit, dirtbag motherfucker who tells me the truth, all sorts of shit. They just call me all sorts of shit, and I'm totally good with all of it. Thank you for joining me today. Got a kind of an interesting video today, if you ask me. So, for those of you that did not catch my videos or are new here or whatever, I often make videos about fat acceptance, fucking advocates. It's so funny to have called it like there's some kind of activist. If TikTok fucking went down, they'd stop being an activist. But like you're not. If TikTok going down makes it so you can't be an advocate, you're not an advocate. Like fat acceptance pretty much lives there now. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some support other places, but it's really just kind of lives in TikTok. But I make videos about fat acceptance members. And one of them, and she may deny that she's a fat acceptance person, is definitely Anna O'Brien, Glitter and Lasers, who very frankly is on her, and I saw somebody comment this on my last video, she's on her amputation arc. Her weight loss method is just literally having shit cut off of her, which is totally wild to me. I mean, I can't even, like, it's malpractice, if you ask me, for them to even be doing the surgeries they are on her. At her size, especially, it's just kind of gross. But that's what I expect out of the healthcare industry. And we're going to get to that here in a little bit because, another person that makes a lot of videos about fat acceptance people, who I do respect greatly, by the way. For those of you that are tuning in and thinking that I'm going to take a run at Ilona, Chikara Transformations, that's not what this video is for, very frankly. And I did message her to let her know that I was going to make this video, right? Because she also makes videos. We have a lot of the same thought process when it comes to weight loss, health, that sort of thing. With very different backgrounds, right? She lives overseas. I'm not sure exactly which country she lives in now, but she lives overseas, and I'm an American, right? And we both make videos about this woman she's Glitter and Lasers. Anna O'Brien goes by Glitter and Lasers. She's very, very, very much upset with me. I do think there's other people involved, but she's definitely upset with me personally, and it's just like this kind of wild aspect, right? That we make very similar videos, but in her video and in the comments section of her video, I saw she commented something, and I saw a bunch of other people commenting that I thought I would address, right? And one of it is people just don't like how I talk about health and wellness and fitness, but I also include politics into this. And, I get where they're coming from, and and somebody said she's in Bulgaria. The thing about it is America has unique problems when it comes to our health, like our actual public health, that venture very deeply into political standing. And that is one of the reasons why it's almost impossible for me not to talk about politics all the way through. Where another reason why I started talking about politics is I have experience in public health. I was a healthcare executive for a dozen years. I helped write disaster policies for entire counties dealing with viral outbreak, those sorts of things, like natural disasters. I'm pretty well versed on that stuff. And after 2020, I started talking a lot more about politics because it was very clear to me that the people that were running our country, that are to a great degree still running our country, although they're being weeded out, hopefully, where in fact not, it had nothing to do with our health. I actually have a book coming out about this called "It Wasn't Ever About Your Health: The COVID Pandemic," because it was not about your health, but at all, And I've written multiple articles on it. Like I said, writing a book, a 300-page book with about 200 sources, scientific and academic sources. It's one of these things where it's impossible in America to really not talk about like some political stuff when you're talking about health. It's impossible. And to a great degree, that's because, a lot of people make it about politics. Like, it's very clear that most fat acceptance members who have the blue hair and the nose ring are also very far leftists. And we in America have basically leftists and the right, yes, of course, there is like people are like, I'm independent or I'm centrist. I'm a centrist. I've got ideas that are very progressive and I've got ideas that are very conservative. So I am more of a centrist than anything like that. And I am more of a constitutionalist than anything. Right. But there's multiple facets and multiple reasons why it's impossible to not talk about politics when you're talking about public health, the obesity epidemic in America. First of all, and I've written an article about this, our government facilitates our chronic illness epidemic. We have a larger chronic illness burden per capita than any other country in the fucking world. It is grotesque. We also pay more for our healthcare insurance and our healthcare in general, multiple times over than any other country. So that is politically driven. And that's why politics come into it. Like, we have shared societal healthcare burden in America, as many other places do. Like, I'm sure that anybody that has government funded healthcare, of course, it's shared healthcare burden, right? However, our government and all of our companies in America pretty much facilitate being sick, which makes it political, because now when our taxes, our economy, and everything like that is tied to a very, very ineffective and frankly dangerous healthcare system. In America, healthcare, the healthcare system, the actual healthcare is I think the third leading cause of death. There's an estimated 375,000 people a year in America die of medical error, and another 425,000 people in America are permanently disabled. And this is every single year. The healthcare industrial complex in America, they average more deaths per year than COVID did. In COVID in its 3 prime years, they average way more deaths than they have for a long time. 375,000 people, 375,000 people a year, unacceptable. That's more than 1,000 people a day die from medical error in America. And for a long time, nothing was being done about it. If anything, it was being more pervasive. And then you move into the fact that we have literal laws being written in some towns that, being fat you're basically being fat as a protected class. The very second that we even started entertaining the concept that being obese can be an accepted class makes it very political, or not accepted class, but a protected class. Because if obesity is a protected class, that means that there are no negative ramifications for being fat as fuck. And there are actual real world negative outcomes from being fat as fuck. It's wild to me. I've been saying for about 6 years now that the American government, wants you fat, sick, weak, and dependent upon pharmaceuticals. Because if you are fat, sickly, and weak, and dependent upon pharmaceuticals, you are an extremely controllable individual. And it also allows for them to enrich themselves, which does happen in America because our government has been very corrupt for quite a while. A lot of our politicians will enter into the political realm. They'll have a seat in Congress making $150,000 to $175,000 a year for the last couple of decades. It's more than that now, but for the last couple of decades, the average was between $150,000 and $175,000. They will make $175,000 a year, or 200, even just call it $200,000 a year, and then after 5 years or 6 years, they're worth $30 million. That does not make sense, and a lot of that is because they're able to basically get paid by our pharmaceutical companies. We in America, our healthcare system is set up where doctors receive bonuses from pharmaceutical companies the more patients they have that are prescribed those medications. Um, and that that is a problem, right? That makes it political. And one more time, again, because realistically, the you can look at the fat acceptance community, which is mostly American, and if you look at the political leanings of those people, you'll understand that it's almost impossible not to bring it into politics. Yeah, does anybody want to take a guess at who Tess Holliday voted for? I just watched a video of Tess Holliday celebrating that Elon Musk lost $18 billion or something like that, and hoping that he loses everything more, right? Like we live in a political climate where there are people that would rather see people fail and hurt people than people succeed, right? Like the avid hatred for the Orange Man and for Elon Musk now. Like, does everybody realize that if all of his businesses went bankrupt, right? Do they realize that a huge sector of the world now does not have internet? They're literally like, say Starlink goes bankrupt, a huge portion, like many millions of people are all of a sudden thrown back to not being able to contact the outside world. They don't have internet anymore, right? Like he's working on, and I'm not a big fan of Neuralink because I'm not going to get a chip put in my head at all ever, but he's trying to cure fucking like people being able to like being paralyzed and shit. Like there's massive amount of good his companies do. And I'm not even talking about Tesla, but SpaceX, between SpaceX and the and Starlink alone, you know, and like we have people that are very upset with Elon Musk right now because he's finding corruption in our government in the form of hundreds of billions of dollars, because they're very upset about it because they want those hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer money borrowed in the taxpayer name, to still be divvied out to all of their favorite charities, non-government organizations and stuff. So then they get the kickback. Like it's political. Our health is political. In America, we have an absolute healthcare burden, which is basically what the people pay between taxes, out-of-pocket expenses, and premiums of approximately $4.5 trillion a year. $4.5 trillion a year. 90% of that is from chronic illness and mental illness. Both chronic and mental illness are vast majority. Some estimates go from between 80 and 95%. Chronic and mental illnesses are avoidable by lifestyle mitigation, but our government does not push that. We even have government organizations designed for health that do not talk about lifestyle changes. They just talk about drugs and things like that. And it has become a very politicized topic in America when it comes to these things. Very politicized, because there's one side that believes in personal responsibility, of course, and that would mean like people taking it upon themselves to lose weight, be healthy, those sorts of things. But there's also another side that is, who are you to say I can't, stuff my face and by the way, pay for my diabetes medication? Like we've reached this tipping point. We are a country that's $37 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to just have people in a very selfish and privileged fucking fashion turn their nose up and make it so their poor lifestyle choices make other people pay for other people's illnesses. Like these people glutton themselves, drink themselves, smoke themselves into chronic illness and mental illness, and then we, the people, all of us, we have to pay for their privilege of doing so. And to me, that makes it a hard thing. And you will find that a lot of people that basically wanted so that they can just be taken care of happen to be on the left. So we have the left and the right and centrist, of course, but it's impossible to just be a centrist for the people on the left, because the people on the left, if you say anything that goes against exactly what they want, because they're so fucking brainwashed and it's a cult, that they will literally, if you say anything, if you deviate in any way from exactly how they think things should be, then you are an alt-right Nazi. It's fucking crazy. But $4.5 trillion a year for people not taking care of themselves, which is basically $4.05 trillion a year, is 90% of that. So chronic illness and mental illness make up $4.05 trillion a year in America. Economically, it's impossible for it not to be political. Health is very political, especially when $1.9 trillion of that 4.05 trillion comes from taxes, direct taxes. The United States government is the largest payee of healthcare expenses in the United States, not by far, right? And that's our money. That's taxes, right? And the wild thing about it is we are in a very weird state where we operate very differently than most of the countries in the world. Like Bulgaria probably has a lot of food on their shelves that is very different from the food on our shelves. We have chemicals and stuff like that in our food because the government allows it and has allowed it for decades that are literally banned in almost all of Europe, that are carcinogenic, endocrine disruptors, very deleterious for the body, cause metabolic disorder, cancers, those sorts of things, right? Like we have those things in our food. It's not an if, it is a true thing. For those things to be in our food in general, by the way, means that our government has just been so incredibly corrupt that it makes health, one more time, political. Because the reason why they are allowing these things, these ingredients to be in the food is because the food industry, the big food industry, donates to political campaigns and also does a huge amount of advertising for advertising revenue on mainstream media, Hollywood, social media, those sorts of things. So they get to control the narrative. So while I understand that for many people that may not like it, health is political. I mean, if you can look at the other aspects of this too, how often in the last 6 years have we seen articles that talk about how fitness is right wing, how wanting to take care of yourself is white supremacy. Like I've literally seen that, like working out is white supremacy. Like, has anybody told C.T. Fletcher about this, Mike Rashid, like any of these people, like told them that they're white supremacists? Because I think that they might disagree, right? Like, it's political in America. Health is political in America because it's been made to be that way. Like, our government has facilitated for decades, and I mean decades, to be fat, sick, weak, and dependent upon pharmaceuticals. We've had the food pyramid in the United States for 40 years. The food pyramid is widely accepted as complete bullshit, as a gift to the ultra-processed food industry. And the ultra-processed food industry is literally the industry that is driving the chronic illness epidemic for the most part. A lot of that still has to do with people's personal choices being lazy fat asses, bar none. But the ultra-processed food industry, which is pushed by our government. There was in 2023 or 2022, the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, conducted a study to try to prove that they could have a healthy diet based on 91% ultra-processed foods. Meanwhile, there's a study from the same year that came out from Brazil for over 20,000 people that followed them from 6 to 10 years, 8 being the mean, that showed that just 20% ultra-processed foods eaten on a regular basis has an increased cognitive function decline of 28% and an increased executive function decline of 25%. Like, our government knows that ultra-processed foods are not healthy for individuals. However, they still continue to push them. Like, we've known that the food pyramid, again, has it is widely accepted that it is bullshit, that it's corrupt, right? But it still remains in some way. They've changed it to My Plate now, which is still this fucking food pyramid. But it's like, we know that the government is corruptly poisoning us with our food. Like, we know this. And that's why it's political, right? It's political because our health has been driven by our politics. That's why it's political in America. I wish it wasn't. because I'll work with anybody. I don't give a fuck if you've got blue hair and nose ring or whatever. You do you. I don't give a fuck. What you do in your personal life is fine. I will help you lose weight. I work with anybody. I have had trans clients. I have clients from all over the world. I have gay clients. None of that shit bothers me. That is not the politics that I talk about. I could not give a fuck less who anybody wants to fuck as long as they're an adult and everybody's consenting. I couldn't give a shit less how you want to dress as long as you don't expect me to, make any special compensation for you, because very frankly, that's a you thing. Like, I don't care if you got a fucking full ass beard and a bald head and you want to wear a flowy red dress because it makes you feel pretty. I don't give a fuck. I don't. I really, really, really don't. If you tell me that I've got to start calling you a certain thing, demanding things out of me, that's going to be a little different story, because I'm not that type of person that listens to that bullshit. But the reality of it is I don't give a shit what people do. I don't give a shit like how anybody acts, as long as it doesn't negatively affect society or me, because if it affects society negatively, it's going to affect me negatively. And very frankly, that's one of the reasons why I'm so hard on obesity, because obesity is in fact the absolute picture of societal burden. It is a burden. It is burdensome to the person, to their family, to the food chain. It is burdensome to our healthcare system. The vast amount of resources in our healthcare system get used on obesity, smoking, and drinking. The vast majority of resources, because it's not even just the cost. The $4.5 trillion is also associated with a vast amount of resource usage, right? Where, we're worried about hospitals being clogged 5 years ago. Well, we're a fat ass fucking country. They're already clogged. I got a newsflash for you. I used to fucking run places like that. I used to, be in charge of hospitals. It's mostly fat fucks and old people. That's what's in hospitals. The vast majority. Yes, there's the acute injuries, there's car accidents, there's stuff like that. And then there's the people that just like happen to have something go wrong with them, or like a healthy person catches cancer. Shit happens, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people would also point to that being part of our environment, the carcinogens, the endocrine disruptors that are in the water, those sorts of things, right? Because there's a lot of evidence that shows this. Our government's not researching it because it would show that they were actually liable for it. But I just wanted to address with, the audience, basically my audience, and with her audience, because I saw a lot of, I perused her comment section, and I saw a lot of people be like, I just can't deal with Alan's politics. Why has it got to be political? Because in America, health is political. And if your favorite fitness influencer from America doesn't talk about politics, I'll let you know that they voted for Trump. I will let you know that if they are not talking about politics right now, and haven't been for the last 5 years, they voted for Trump this past election. The fitness industry is very seriously leaned to the right, very seriously in America. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's some leftist, pansy asses that fucking go to the gym. And I'm sorry, but I'm sure there's some leftists that go to the gym. But for the most part, it is a right thing. Like, it is personal responsibility. You go to the gym, you work out, you watch what you eat. That's why being fit is like, it's also political. Like, you don't see, like, you see vastly more fit people on the right, people that are athletic, than you do on the left in America. It's just valid and true. It's just how it is. But I just wanted to explain to everybody why I do still talk about politics. First of all, I believe that the American government has mishandled everything on purpose, not everything, but most things on purpose when it comes to our health. They purposely mishandled the COVID pandemic. Again, I'm writing a book about it. They purposely mishandled the rise in obesity. Like, notice how in 2020, and here's how you know it's political, right? In 2020 and 2021, especially 2021, notice how obesity was never even spoken about, but it is completely 100% factual and known that besides age, obesity is the number one high risk factor for the cold known as COVID, right? And that's also another reason, because it's political. Like, COVID is politicized in our country. There's a lot of people on the left that think that this virus that is less deadly to people of my physical stature, like people that are healthy, who minimize processed foods, who get plenty of hydration, sleep, stress relief, those sorts of things, supplement vitamin D. COVID's like, I have more chance of dying from a lightning strike inside my house just about than COVID taking me out. And that's reality. like that's factual and statistical. Like I've written articles about that, and there's many, many, many studies, like dozens of studies that show this, right? If you're healthy, communicable diseases are much less of an impact on you because your body is healthy and therefore your immune system is strong, right? But in America, we encourage people to stay inside under LED lights, not even natural lighting, under LED lights that are hooked to their phones and that sort of thing. And they eat poorly. They eat ultra processed foods because the government tells them they can. Our government subsidizes, or used to. This is stopping, thankfully. But our government subsidizes ultra processed foods. They subsidize corn, so there's the high fructose corn syrup. They subsidize the sugar industry. The sugar industry, it is an addictive substance that we market to children, and our government subsidizes it by about $5 billion a year. Of course, it's political because our health has been politicized because it has been neglected by our officials, by our politics, by the people that were supposed to protect American citizens from companies and corporations taking advantage of us. They have facilitated this and made it so that we are unhealthy as a nation to a great, great degree. And to ignore talking about the politics involved in it will make it so that the root cause of the problem will never, ever, ever be approached. And I refuse to do that. I refuse to watch people suffer unnecessarily. I refuse to pretend that that is not the case. I refuse to. Just like I refuse to call somebody they them because you're not two fucking people. I refuse to not point out how the federal government has facilitated for the last 4 or 5 decades the massive decline in health in the American people, as well as the massive increase of the healthcare industrial complex's revenue. Because 40 years ago, about 3% of the population had a chronic illness. Now, 60% of the population has a chronic illness, and that is, one more time, 90% of all of our expenses for healthcare. It is political in America. And anybody that tells you it's not political in America, they just don't want to say the hard shit that might get them canceled or might make it so. There's people in the comment section that are saying, I don't like his politics. I don't know why he brings politics into fitness. In America, fitness is about politics, period. Like it's not, you can't possibly separate it. Like you can't. And that's why it's impossible. Like I am going to speak the truth. And in America, the truth is the government up until now, and hopefully this is changing for the last 40 or 50 years, has wanted you fat, sick, weak, and dependent upon pharmaceuticals because that's where the ad revenue comes from. That's where the donor money comes from to get people elected. That's where grants and money laundering can happen through the NIH by giving people a grant to see about the effects of shrimp on treadmills or the effects of transgender surgeries on monkeys. That's why it's political, because our health has been politicized for profit by the big food industry, big pharma, and our government is facilitating it. And anybody that tells me the government is not facilitating it, I'm just going to point out that the department of the FDA that approves drugs, like the FDA is about 48% financed by pharmaceutical companies total. But the department that approves drugs is 75% funded by pharmaceutical industry. That's an unbelievable, like grotesque, flagrant fucking violation to me. That is beyond anything. It's to me, it's like we know who these people are taking money from. We have it so that people that approve drugs are allowed to get money from the sales of those drugs. Like people that work for the NIH, the FDA, and all like that, they can have ownership in the drugs that they approve, which is an incredible conflict of interest financially. But that's how our system is set up. And that's why our health in America is political. We have a movement called the Make America Healthy Again. Mark Lobliner and I said that phrase for the first time, I think, from anybody about 3 or 4 years ago. And we've said that to make America great again, you have to make America healthy again. We can't be great unless we're healthy. It's just, we can't. There's no way. We can't be great when half the population probably will end up losing a fucking limb or get a lower limb amputation, because diabetes is slated to hit about 60% of America by 2030. That's fucking crazy. Okay, that is insanity. A condition that is 90 to 95% avoidable, reversible, or mitigatable by lifestyle is about to be the majority of the population within the next 5 to 10 years. That's fucking wild. Why do we pay taxes for the CDC, the FDA, the USDA? Why do we do that when the amount of money that we are paying to these people, paying to these entities in our government, the amount of money that we pay more and more and more to become sicker and sicker and sicker, because it can be looked at two ways. Our public health officials in America are either so completely fucking inept that since we started spending taxpayer money on things like the CDC and the FDA and the USDA and the NIH and CMS and all of these organizations that spend hundreds of billions, not trillions of dollars in a year, all of these entities, we spend so much money. We finance them in so many ways with so much taxpayer money, and we give them so much authority to be as sick as we've ever been and be leading the world in chronic illness. They are either completely, totally, and woefully inept at their jobs, or it's purposeful. And either way, politically, that makes it a stance. And so I just we're going to do some Q&A here, but I just wanted everybody to understand, like, I'm very interested in the world around me. After 2020 changed everything, because I saw how our health, I saw how the level of public illness, basically, because we can't even call it public health when when 60% of the population is on at least one medication because they have some sort of chronic illness. 60% of our population has at least one chronic illness. 40% have two. That is not by any stretch of the imagination a sustainable society. You can't have that many sickly people who need to be taken care of by those that aren't sick. You cannot. It will not be sustained. Those of us that take care of our health should not have to bear the burden of people that don't give a fuck. And we definitely shouldn't be paying taxes to a government organization or a government that facilitates this illness by no stretch of the imagination, right? So I just wanted to touch base for Alona, but her and I've already talked about it. But for a lot of some people in her comment section, like, I just don't like how he gets into politics. Very frankly, if they are an American health, fitness, whatever influencer, and they don't talk about politics, they're fucking bullshitting you in some way. They're either not telling you who they voted for or how they stand, because they know that in America, like, that's another thing too, I think that Ileana doesn't understand. In America, there are people that will literally not talk to family members if they voted for the Orange Man. That's fucking wild to me. That's insanely wild to me. Our politics have become so fever pitched that people, like, you understand, we had members of our government not stand up to applaud a kid who survived brain cancer the other day, right? They literally, because Trump was talking nicely about him, they refused to stand up for a little kid that survived brain cancer. That's how fucked up it is in America. That's how fucked up. It's not about health. It's not about being right. It's not about anything like that. It is about politics almost all the goddamn time. And the problem is health being connected to politics. And I don't like that it is. I don't like that it is, because trust me, I don't give a fuck who you voted for. I don't give a fuck what you feel. And one more time, I don't give a fuck what your lifestyle is. I don't care if you like. I do not care. Why is it always got to be somebody like this spamming shit? I don't care who you want to, like I don't care who you want to sleep with, who any of that shit. I do not give a fuck. I don't. I honestly don't. I could not give a shit. But I just really, really, really do think that like people need to understand that it's impossible to be in American like life as a fitness person, as a doctor, as something like that, and not realize that politics plays a huge portion in our health. A huge portion. A lot of it has to do with politics, and we need to figure a lot of that shit out. We really do. We need to get the poison out of our food system. We need to make it so we don't have all these dyes, emulsifiers, shelf stabilizers, those sorts of things. We do need to make sure that people stop bullshitting and lying and saying that red meat and eggs are bad for them. That is a government thing when it is totally like 100% provably false. The government still does it. The government still recommends you not eat that much red meat. Meanwhile, those of us that eat a lot of red meat physically thrive, while people that are vegan look like they're going to die. It's just reality. And I'm not knocking vegans either, because I've coached vegans. I'll coach anybody. I don't give a fuck. I wish it wasn't political, but it is. And that's why. It is, because when you're really talking about it, it's unavoidable. People that just want to come on here and make their bicep curl videos and stuff like that are American and never will tell you who they voted for because they're afraid of getting canceled because they're fucking bitch ass punk ass bitches. Or people that have avoided even talking about COVID from the fitness industry, even though we're supposed to be looking out for people's fitness and health. And it was the most impactful health event in our lifetimes. People that avoid talking about that and not taking an opinion on that, if they say, well, I don't have an opinion, that means they haven't studied it. That either means that they haven't studied it. They don't know anything about it, which means they are not prepared to actually help people get healthy in the new COVID world. Or they have, and they just don't want to talk about it because they are pussy ass bitches that don't want to get canceled. And that's that. So I'll take some Q&A. I just want to let everybody know that, again, I will work with anybody. Here are our coaching sales. Please do take us up on that, on these. There are Make America Healthy Again coaching sales, because one more time, Make America Healthy Again is a political movement in America about getting healthy. We literally need a political movement in America to get the country healthy again, because that's how sickly we are, and that's how fucking much it's tied into politics, is that we literally have a political movement called Make America Healthy Again, designed to make America healthy again. Like, people wonder why it's about politics. It's because we're so fucking sickly, and shit needs to change from a we the people level of taking personal responsibility, pointing out to people that refuse to take personal responsibility that they are being selfish little fucking bratty fat ass motherfuckers, and they should get to the gym. They should start watching what they eat and stop being such a incredible disproportionate burden upon the rest of society. Like, that is what we need. That is what we need. We need that to happen. And then we also need for the government to start doing its job and start putting money towards making sure we have cheap, natural remedies that have been robustly studied. That's all of our money should go, like our research money. We should pay no research money to see if a drug works. Zero. Drug companies, people that make $1 trillion a year in profit, the drug companies are the people that should pay for their own fucking research. They should also not have any liability shield, because that's another big thing. We have a lot of companies in America that are for the pharmaceutical industry that literally are protected by the government. Protected, because that's what the liability shield is. It's the government protecting them against the people. Like, the government is supposed to look out for the people. The government should be saying, like, if your vaccine or your product harms one American head, there will be fucking consequences. But instead, they tell the American people, like, well, yeah, if the vaccine killed your mama, sorry about your fucking luck. Like, that's why it's political. That's why it's political, right? All right. So let's get to a little bit of Q&A. So Sims, people hate health and fitness, but love body positivity and obesity. It's disgusting and backwards. We wonder why our young girls have body image issues. Very good point. And again, I will point out that most of the people that love body positivity and obesity are politically on one side of the aisle. Sadly, we educate our physicians politically here too, instead of focusing on medical aspects that are important for their job. Well, we have the Rockefeller-based healthcare system in America that is completely pharmaceutically based. It's pharmaceutical first, and that's the absolute opposite of what it should be. And it's wild. Like, this is another way it's tied into the government, right? Like, we license doctors, like they get a government license basically from agencies like accreditation agencies that our government also says this is an accreditation agency, right? It's illegal to operate as a doctor without a license. So the government is involved in that. But doctors and the healthcare system, once again, is one of the leading causes of death in America. And our government does nothing about it. They don't even talk about that shit. So our government should be protecting us from that. Our government should be like, hey, healthcare industry, why the fuck are you killing 375,000 people a year and disabling another 425,000 people a year? Like, our government should be holding them to the fire, but instead they don't even talk about it because they're more worried about vaccine hesitancy than anything. It's fucking crazy. It's political, you know? Anybody that says it's not, I'd like to hear an argument back. Could be a combination. Yeah. I'm 155 pounds right now, down from 180, and I'm trying to get to 130. I got 25 pounds to go. I got this. Hell yeah, you do, Norma. Great goddamn job. AOC, for example, has been in Congress only since 2019 on a 175K a year salary, but she's worth $9 million now. I've actually seen estimates that she's worth about $20 million. A very good point. Like, how? How the fuck does that happen? You know? Why is it that the left has no problem speaking out about their views, but the right are scared to? Well, I believe that it's because historically, not me, by the way, because I've always just spoken out what I've said, but I believe it's because a bunch of people on the right were more worried about people disliking them online and being labeled as racist or sexist or whatever ist or obia that it could be. They allowed like the social credit of wokeism, like these people, this horde of people that was massively magnified by legacy media, the Hollywood, and before Elon Musk and Rumble came along, social media. Like social media, Hollywood, and mainstream legacy media news, all very much projected like you needed to be, woke. You needed to, like, there was a huge thing like, everybody needed to put pronouns in their bio. Like, bitches, I'm a fucking man. If you can't tell I'm a fucking man, that's a you problem. I don't need to fucking, if I need to tell you I'm a man, I don't know why I'd want your opinion anyway. And if you think I'm a woman, that's great. I will laugh if you call me she, because I'm very confident that I'm a fucking man. I mean, very fucking confident. So it's just this thing where everybody was afraid to get canceled. Like, and that, I'm going to be honest. That's why my friend circle completely changed in 2020. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd have nothing against anybody that I used to hang out with. I couldn't give a fuck less. I have no ill will towards any of them. But I was speaking out daily about the bullshit that was going on in 2020, because lockdowns don't work. Masks are ridiculous. COVID is a fucking cold to healthy people. And instead of everybody trying to hide from an endemic upper respiratory virus, which had been around the world multiple times already, instead of everybody trying to hide, I was saying people should get healthy, right? And apparently for a lot of people that used to hang out with me or used to online hang out with me, that was a fucking problem because they didn't want to bring politics into it. Well, that sucks because I'm just not that type of person to keep my mouth shut when I know I'm right. And I was right. 100%. I was right. People can try to claim I wasn't. They can't even deny it. You can call me an asshole. You can say something about my tattoos. You can say stuff about being bald. You can say all that shit. I was right about COVID. 100%. I batted a fucking 1,000. I really did. I mean, the data was there, right? And they probably saw me getting canceled because I was definitely getting canceled by YouTube and it was social media entities. Like, social media entities were canceling people. Like, I lost a whole channel. I had a second channel called In My Opinion, of course, that had about 80,000, 90,000 subscribers to it, and they just deleted it because I shared the words of Dr. John Ioannidis, who was the most cited scientist in public health in the fucking world, by the way. I shared his words, and they deleted my fucking account for it. Right? It's political. They all just like, it was like the regime that was in power decided, because it's, we've had like the left and the right. It's really what's going on right now. The administration it's in now, and the uniparty, like in America. That's just the truth. It's just the uniparty. Because there's people that are on the right that play ball with the same people on the left about our public health, about foreign aid, about all that shit, right? So a lot of people on the right were terrified of being doxxed. They were. I mean, I've been doxxed so many fucking times. It's crazy. Like, the weird thing is about that, though. Like, if I get doxxed, what are you going to do? Show up at my house? Where I live, showing up at my house unannounced is a very bad mistake. And that's why I don't get too upset about that shit, because if you do, that'd be very bad. Like, very, very, like very, 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 very bad for you. I hope your family has their church clothes ready, because that's where they're going to see you next, in a church. But they didn't want to get doxxed. They didn't want to get canceled. They didn't want to be seen as the mean person. They didn't want to. They didn't want to be seen as spreading medical misinformation, even though they knew not to be true. Those sorts of things. They were just pussies. Most of them were just pussies. Like, everybody needs to understand that. Most of the entire fitness industry sat the fuck down in 2020 and 2021 when they were trying to destroy your fucking careers. They closed gyms. They started telling people that being fit was white supremacist, that it was like, you're going to be an alt-right supporter if you work out, shit like that. They literally tried to destroy the fitness industry. They came for all of you motherfuckers, and all of you bitches sat on your hands and stayed silent as shit. You're pussies. I don't associate with any of you motherfuckers no more, because, very frankly, you're all weak as shit. And not all, like, but the people that know that I'm talking to them, the people that fucking kept their mouth shut, and the people that knew better but didn't want to get canceled, you're just pussy ass bitches. All of you. You're just fucking weak as fuck. You're cowards. You are absolutely cowards. You would rather keep your mouth shut than say the fucking right thing. And that makes you a bitch ass coward in my fucking book. But that's it is what it is. Hopefully people learn their lessons and they unbitch themselves. I started at 216, being 5'1", which is horrible to start now. 125 in around a year and 2 months. Great motherfucking job. It's the best thing that I've ever done to myself. I will never. Boom. Everybody congratulate this woman. That's a fucking great, great, great outcome. I love how you guys congratulate other people in the comment section. That's fucking outstanding. Pharma has locked in on less is more for health, i.e. Wegovy and Ozempic. Healthy is only profitable to them. Yep. Health is only, it can only be profit. That's another thing too. I mean, look at the people, like the Fatima Stanford or something like that is her name. She's the one that came out on 60 Minutes and said that obesity is genetic, right? Obesity is genetic. Meanwhile, she's paid by Novo Nordisk, which sells Wegovy and Ozempic. Oh yeah, and by the way, in the last administration appointed her to be on the board for food, what diets are approved, for the USDA. Like, she's saying that being obese is genetic. It has nothing to do with like any of your actual actions. A doctor clearly paid off, fucking clearly paid off by Novo Nordisk, by the people that sell Wegovy and Ozempic. And after that, she got appointed to the USDA's food board. It's political. It can't be seen as any other thing but political, right? Let's see. Wouldn't research on transgender surgeries on monkeys be useful for humans who want to become transgender? Like, I would guess, but why should the government pay for it? Why should the government pay for that? Here's the thing. You want to get boob implants, get boob implants. But if you start playing with the plumbing, like the actual fucking plumbing, you're shaving probably decades of this person's life off. Oh, and by the way, they need medical attention constantly almost. So I am not, you do what you want to do as long as it's consenting and you're of sound mind and shit like that. But, I'm thinking that, when they start fucking with the plumbing, I'm pretty sure that that's not a healthy thing. But also, why in the fuck should taxes go to pay for that shit? Why should any part of my taxes go to pay for transgender surgeries? The research on transgender surgeries, especially when they abuse animals, because I'm fairly sure that the monkeys don't get the fucking consent to, having their penises cut off. Rosie, I can't stop binging after work, and the Holy Trinity bundle doesn't ship to my country. I've tried to add more protein, water, but I'm thinking it's my ADHD that helped me binge. I'm not sure. Rosie, I'm telling you, even if you can't get the Holy Trinity weight loss bundle, you can join coaching. It's about the same price per month anyway. And I just shared the link. You can join coaching, and I'll try the best I can to help you that way. I have good success with people that, that's another thing too. We sell supplements, of course. No Morbidity and Alchemy. They work. I saw somebody be like, somebody in Alona's thing was like, I went on his supplements and they didn't work for me. I'm sorry that they didn't. There's a lot of people that don't notice any difference from Wegovy and Ozempic, but our supplements are made of literally clinically human tested, patented ingredients, proven. To be patented, they must be proven ingredients that work. So, but beside that, I always say that supplements are supplemental. We have most of my clients do not, I believe, use No Morbidity and Alchemy because I worry that to a great degree, if we have these people just use it, people come to me because they need to develop a healthier lifestyle for coaching. If you just need an appetite suppressant, No Mo and Alchemy is it. But a lot of times people don't have a built-up healthy lifestyle to then have that aid them, and that's why. So, but yeah, sign up for coaching. We'll be able to help you. I just shared the link again. Let's see here. Medical education needs to be overhauled. Very outdated practices and oversight is horrible. I completely agree, but it's also just even the focus and premise is off, because the focus and premise is pharmaceutical and surgical first, and it should be naturopath. It should be lifestyle, then naturopathy, then pharmaceutical, then surgery. Surgery should be the last resort for any, especially chronic illness. Pharmaceuticals should be the last resort for any chronic illness, like one of the last resort for any chronic illness also. We should try everything possible not to put them on pharmaceuticals. But that doesn't make the pharmaceutical company happy. The $4.5 trillion a year in shared societal healthcare burden in America is $4.5 thousand a year in revenue for the healthcare industrial complex. Everybody needs to recognize that, Lily lives in Bulgaria. I watch her content all the time. She is similar to you, just different styles. Of course, yeah. And I'm a big fan, by the way. I don't watch all her videos. I'm sure she doesn't watch all my videos. Honestly, we say a lot of the same things. But I'm a fan. Again, and this video wasn't to dog her in any way whatsoever. And I even told her I was making this video first, by the way. But it's just to point out why it's political for me, Yeah, it was just the pandemic was a big control experiment. Absolutely. Sadly, certain political forces try to force woke ideas in Portland too. Yeah, no kidding. Portland's fucking wacky. Nowadays, when you use your common sense, you are categorized as a rightist. I've always leaned towards the left, but the left nowadays is I don't understand. I did not become a conservative. I was a very centrist, if not centrist to a little bit to the left. There's a few things about how I believe that are not progressive ideas, right? I'm very big on the death penalty. I think the problem with the death penalty is that we don't use it enough or for nearly enough things. For pedophilia and rapists and stuff like that, I think that these people would learn to control their urges a little better if we started executing people. I just do. I'm kind of a realist, but I also, I also very much believe in like nature and things that would normally be seen as left wing. Like I always say this, like in 2018, I remember somebody I go to farmers markets a lot, right? Because I love living in the country and everything like that. And people were calling Crystal and I, like left wing tree huggers, like the something like tree, like the bleeding heart tree huggers or something like that, right? Like saying we're super far on the left because we go to farmers markets. And then in 2021, I was apparently an alt-right person because I was going to farmers markets. So I didn't change; they changed. I cannot afford not to be fit and living in Portland when when you have Russia or Poland when you have Russia on the border. Valid. Let's see. No, don't do that to monkeys. They don't deserve that. Exactly. What the fuck? Why do you keep badgering people about their eating choices? Live and let life. I don't badger people. I just point out how unhealthy they are and how stupid they are for eating that way. I don't badger people. I mean, here, W. Wilbert. I don't badger people. I point out how stupid they are. And then I'm not actually like doing anything. I'm just narrating their stupid like decisions. Also, maybe a statin. A statin for what? Statins are bad for you, by the way. Statins are bad for you. Better than a statin, nattokinase. Oh wait, no, dude, I'm all for freedom of choice and freedom of food choice too. But if we're gonna have complete freedom of choice and complete freedom of food choice, then they can pay for all of their health care out of their own pocket. If you eat yourself to chronic illness, why should that be a shared societal healthcare burden? I'm all for it. Pay for if you're morbidly obese and you don't want anybody to fucking you want to just be like, let me be fat, you be fat. Pay for all of your healthcare 100% out of your own pocket. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. That I've been chronically underweight for my whole life. 17.5 BMI. Is that something you can help? Yes, absolutely. We can absolutely help you with that. We have people that range from they need to gain weight, they need to gain muscle, they need to lose weight, they need to build a healthy lifestyle, they need to stop binging. We help everybody. So absolutely, we can help you with that. Linz. Year ago, the kings and queens were fat because it showed wealth. Look at the state of these people's wealth now. Wealth now. Oh wait, taxpayer wealth. Exactly. Exactly. I got you. And I agree with this. The food industry does need to change, and they are preying on gullible people. The problem is people allow themselves to be gullible about it. Like you see yourself gaining weight over and over and over again. It doesn't strike you that maybe you should change your habits, that sort of thing. Like I believe that it should be twofold. Again, we should absolutely expect our government to make it so that the food industry changes. We should also expect as people for other people to take personal responsibility and not face fuck themselves into chronic illness. Face fuck themselves with food, I should say. People have come to the channel to hear him and can't just not. That's not badgering. Exactly. Why do you think so many people are allergic to gluten and wheat and dairy or whatever else? I met a woman once who was allergic to oranges, apparently. That I don't know. I really don't. I can tell you that the level of gluten that's in our genetically modified wheat is vastly higher than what it used to be. I can also tell you that a lot of people don't seem to have gluten issues in Europe that have gluten issues here too. But the allergy thing, I'm wondering about myself. It could be that people's immune system it gets fucked up somehow, but I'm hoping that we do study on that. That's something. That's what our that's literally what our money should be spent on, studying that shit. Your rant yesterday was intense. Great listening. How long until people admit it's the food and the exercise? I do not know. An allergy to gluten is genetic, not for not necessarily for everybody. There's differences. There's allergies and intolerances. You know, and people can develop an intolerance to something if they have too much of it, especially if it's inflammatory or something like that. Like what could happen is that like people all of a sudden develop a different autoimmune disorder that causes some sort of inflammation in their body, and then they eat something like gluten that's highly inflammatory, and it exacerbates it. You know. I've heard that people who have trouble eating pizza in the U.S. because it upsets their stomachs, they go abroad and they have no problem. Exactly, tons. And I do think there's a lot of food illiteracy in the United States. Everybody is one of these. Almost everybody is one of these. Being stupid is not an excuse. Just saying. Everybody has one of those. Almost. Like everybody has access to the wealth of the world's information is at a fingertip. If they're illiterate, it's because they're fucking stupid and they fucking willfully choose to be. I'm just saying. And yes, and this is true. U.S. bread is classified as would be classified as cake in most of Europe. That's because of the sugar content too. But all right, listen, folks, I've been on for over an hour. I'm going to be back for evening rants tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I might come back for another live after this, but I just wanted to touch base on this. I thought it was an interesting topic, and it might explain to some people of why the way I am and why I conduct this channel the way I've been conducting it for the last 4 or 5 years is because it is impossible not to talk about politics when you are talking about health in America. Absolutely impossible, because our politics lay the groundwork for what is health, both food, fitness, medicine. That's what happens. So I hope all of you have a great goddamn day. One more time, if you're looking to join coaching, here is the links. Please do take us up on those offers. We work with anybody. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care who you want to fuck. I don't care how you want to dress. I don't care none of that shit. I just want to make people healthy again. Have a good day. God damn.
The Holy Trinity Bundle isn't just about weight loss. It's about empowering you to find your healthiest, happiest self. Let's talk about what's in the bundle and how it caters specifically to our needs. First, we got Ember, which is not just any fat burner. It's also going to boost your mood, your energy levels, while also suppressing your appetite. And if you're worried about it being too strong, you can split the tablet in half to tailor its impact. Next, we have Alchemy NCT, which turns the carbs that you eat into energy and not fat. Yes, energy, not fat. This is our way of making sure that the meals that you eat contribute positively to your weight loss journey. And girls, we all know that we want that. And finally, No Morbidity. This one's my favorite because it works while you sleep. It burns fat and controls those nighttime cravings without any stimulants, so you wake up feeling refreshed. Try it out and feel the genuine difference. Here's to new beginnings and real results.